Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to explore the fascinating, kind of hidden blueprints behind our finances. Some studies actually suggest that nearly 70% of lottery winners end up broke within just a few years. It's a completely staggering statistic, right? But it points to this hidden truth. Think about it like this. When we look at a towering skyscraper, our eyes are instantly drawn to the shiny glass, the massive steel beams, the sheer height of the whole thing. We just marvel at the visible results. And honestly, wealth is usually viewed in the exact same way. We look at the bank balances, the stock portfolios, the big houses, and we think, okay, I'm seeing the whole picture. But just like that skyscraper, those visible elements are totally reliant on a deep, unseen foundation that had to be laid long before the building ever went up. So today, we're taking a much closer look at the source material that reveals the true underlying structure of our financial lives. We are literally going to map out the emotional architecture of wealth.
Okay, let's dive into this. Take a second and genuinely ask yourself, what is your wealth actually built on? Because, well, most of us are conditioned to answer that with just numbers. We tend to think our financial foundation relies on pure logic, math, compounding interest, those carefully calculated spreadsheets. We really love to believe that we're these perfectly rational actors, making cold, calculated moves to optimize our net worth. But the source material we're exploring today, it challenges that assumption head-on. It asks us to look a little deeper. Are we actually building our financial houses on the solid bedrock of logic? Or are we secretly constructing them on the shifting sands of our own hidden feelings, our hopes, our fears, and our biases?
Which brings us to Section 1, the foundation, the psychology of money.
So the crucial point is that we have to properly define what this foundation actually is. Because, as any master architect will tell you, you absolutely cannot build a lasting structure without first pouring a solid baseline. And in the context of our finances, that baseline doesn't start in a bank vault or on the floor of the stock exchange. It begins entirely inside the human mind. The source material defines the psychology of money as the study of how human emotion shapes financial decisions and wealth creation. Now, notice what isn't in that definition. It doesn't say it's the study of complex math formulas or economic charts. No, it is the study of human emotion. I mean, consider the famous story of Sir Isaac Newton. Literally one of the smartest minds in human history, right? Well, he famously lost a massive fortune in the South Sea bubble simply because he couldn't resist the emotional pull of the investing crowd. He could calculate the motions of the planets, but he couldn't calculate the madness of people. True financial understanding means we have to look at our own internal psychological foundation first.
All right, now we move from that underground foundation to the visible structure itself with Section 2, the framework, how emotions shape financial decisions. And this brilliantly illustrates the tension we all face. Once your foundation is poured, the framing goes up. This framework represents the active mechanics of our minds. It's the daily structural support system that actually dictates our choices. So on one side, we've got logical financial decisions. This is exactly what we are taught to do, right? Buy low, sell high. Spend less than you earn. It's totally straightforward and perfectly rational. But on the other side, we have emotional financial decisions. And this is what we actually do. This is where really powerful psychological forces, like loss aversion, cause us to just panic sell our investments at the absolute bottom of the market just to make that immediate pain stop. Or it's where FOMO, the fear of missing out, convinces us to buy some wildly overpriced asset we don't even understand. Highlighting this friction is absolutely essential, because it shows the massive gap between the math we think we're using and the human emotion that actually builds our real-world action. Ultimately, when the dust settles, we arrive at this core, undeniable truth presented in the source material. Human emotion shapes the decision. Look, it turns out we aren't perfectly calibrated algorithms. We're biological creatures driven by thousands of years of evolutionary psychology. Our brains are hardwired for immediate survival in the present moment. They definitely aren't wired for optimizing a 40-year retirement plan. Every single person, from the absolute beginner trying to save a few bucks to the billionaire investor, makes emotionally driven choices. Recognizing this isn't about trying to magically eliminate your emotions. Honestly, that's completely impossible. It's really about acknowledging emotion as the primary force shaping our financial framework. When we accept this fascinating little quirk of human nature, we finally stop fighting ourselves and we can start actually designing our lives around it. And that brings us to the ultimate goal of the source material. Section 3, the completed structure, designing wealth creation. Let's move to and see how this builds into a really actionable progression. Up to this point, we've looked at the hidden foundation of psychology, and we've looked at the structural framework of our daily emotional decisions. Now we are putting on the roof. We're looking at the finished, habitable space. The thing is, you cannot leap straight to step 3. So many people fail because they try to force wealth creation without respecting the prerequisites. Trying to build wealth without understanding your own fear or your own greed, well, it's like trying to build a sprawling mansion on top of a sinkhole. Eventually, the whole shebang is going to collapse. It all has to start with step one, awareness of the psychology of money. Once you understand that foundation, then you move to step two, recognizing how human emotion shapes decisions in real time. And it's only when those first two steps are securely in place that the structure can safely support step three, wealth creation. It's a sequential, logical building process where self-awareness leads directly to your financial results.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is a very deliberate word the source material uses right here, shape. Discover how human emotion shape financial decisions and wealth creation. I really want to draw your attention to that exact phrasing. Notice it doesn't say our emotions ruin financial decisions. It doesn't say emotions override them. It says they shape them. It's almost like a master sculptor molding clay, you know? Our internal feelings are the active hands that are constantly forming our external wealth. This perfectly cements the whole connection. Wealth creation isn't some totally separate discipline from psychology. It's literally the direct physical manifestation of it.
So, we've explored the blueprint from the foundation all the way up to the roof, and I want to leave you with this final vital thought. Your emotions are never idle. If your emotional foundation is built on unrecognized fear, impulsive greed, or constantly comparing yourself to others on social media, well, your financial structure is eventually going to crack under that pressure. But if you take the time to really understand your own psychology, you can actually use those very same emotions as the absolute strongest building materials available. You've got the blueprint now. So ask yourself, is your emotional architecture building your wealth or is it tearing it down?